Welcome to NFL Nexus. Sometimes just one single moment can perfectly capture this wild and, let's be honest, often bizarre intersection of sports, media, and pure unadulterated entertainment. And believe me, the NFL draft has changed. I mean, it used to be this quiet, kind of boring thing in a hotel ballroom. Now, it's a massive 3-day primetime spectacle. And in that evolution, it's created this huge stage for moments that go way beyond just picking a football player. Today, we're going to break down one of those moments from the 2026 NFL Draft, a complete spectacle put on by one of football's most electrifying and, yeah, polarizing personalities. And this is where it all started, with this one single sentence. I mean, look, predictions are a dime a dozen in sports, right? Everybody's got a take. But this was just different. This wasn't some former player just being optimistic about his old team on a radio show. Nope. This was a declaration, a full-blown proclamation made on national television with the entire league watching during one of its biggest events of the year. It was so audacious, so completely and utterly confident that it sent these immediate shockwaves through the entire NFL world. So today, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to unpack not just what he said, but the unbelievable performance that led up to it, why it was so jaw-droppingly shocking given the team he was talking about, and what it all tells us about the state of the Indianapolis Colts, and maybe the very nature of the NFL draft itself. To really, and I mean really, get the weight and the sheer absurdity of that statement, we absolutely have to set the stage, because context is everything here. This wasn't some random hot take screamed on a daytime sports show just to get clicks. No, the setting was absolutely critical. We're on day 2 of the 2026 NFL Draft, live from Pittsburgh. If you've never been to one, the energy in these host cities is just electric. You've got tens of thousands of fans, all decked out in their team's colors, living and dying with every single pick. For the teams, this is the heart of the offseason, where literally years of scouting and planning all comes to a head. For us watching at home, it's become can't-miss TV. And right in the middle of all this high-stakes, meticulously planned action, the whole event was about to get a massive, unscripted jolt of pure personality. And enter Pat McAfee. Now, for those of you who might not know, this guy is no stranger to the spotlight. He went from being a Pro Bowl punter for the Colts, seriously, one of the best and most charismatic to ever do it, to becoming an absolute media mogul. He's got a massive, loyal following and a giant contract with ESPN. He's built an entire brand on being raw, unfiltered, energetic, and saying the things other analysts just won't. So fans, even his own employers, have basically come to expect the unexpected from him. So when he stepped up to that podium, in Pittsburgh of all places, a city he knows well from his college days at West Virginia, you could just feel this buzz in the air. You knew he wasn't just there to read a name off a card. Oh no, he was there to put on a show for his old team in front of an audience of millions. Okay, let's really dive into this, because what happened next wasn't just a draft announcement. It was a piece of performance art. Think about it. Most former players who announce a pick, they'll come up, share a quick story, thank the fans, and then they read the name. It's a nice, respectable moment. Standard procedure. But McAfee, he saw this as a golden opportunity. He had a whole narrative planned out, a very specific point he wanted to make, and he was going to use every single second of his airtime to make it. He was about to address this dark cloud, this negativity that he felt was just hanging over the Colts franchise, and he was going to do it head-on, in the most theatrical way you could possibly imagine. Let's just break down the sheer theater of this moment. So first, he grabs the mic and he immediately calls out what he calls a defeatist attitude surrounding the team. He's talking directly to the doubters, the fans who are down, the media criticism. He's literally naming the enemy. Then, and this is where it gets truly bizarre, he performs a literal magic trick. On the NFL draft stage, he takes a napkin and poof, makes it vanish into thin air. A physical, visual representation of him banishing the negativity. It's so campy, it's so absurd, and it has everyone completely glued to their screens, wondering what in the world is happening. And only after this ritualistic cleansing of bad vibes, this piece of stage magic, does he finally pivot and drop the bombshell, the Super Bowl proclamation. It was an absolute masterclass in seizing a moment and just bending it completely to his will. So you hear that prediction, you see the magic trick, and you've got to ask yourself, what is this defeatist attitude he's talking about? Is it even real, or is it just a straw man he built up for his big performance? More importantly, is it justified? To answer that, we have to pull back the curtain of showmanship. We need to leave the spectacle behind for a minute and look at the cold, hard numbers that have defined the modern-day Indianapolis Colts. This is where the magic trick collides head-on with cold, hard reality. This number right here says it all. 5 straight years without a single playoff appearance. In the NFL, where teams can turn it around in a season, 5 years feels like an eternity. That number represents multiple coaching staffs, a revolving door of quarterbacks, a ton of roster turnover, and a fan base that has grown more and more frustrated with each passing season. I mean, for a franchise that, for over a decade in the Peyton Manning era, was a perennial powerhouse, a team you just expected to see in the Super Bowl hunt. This drought is a constant painful reminder of just how far they've fallen. So McAfee's prediction wasn't just optimistic, it was flying directly in the face of half a decade of tangible, consistent, and frankly, disappointing football. And if you want a perfect little snapshot of why that defeatist attitude exists, you just have to look at their most recent season. This tells the entire story right here. They came storming out of the gates with an incredible 8-2 record. They were one of the biggest surprise teams in the entire league. The national media was buzzing, the coaching staff was getting all this praise, and it really genuinely felt like the turnaround was finally here. But then, a complete and total collapse, a free fall. They lost their final 7 games to finish the season 8-9, not just missing the playoffs, but finishing with a losing record after being 8-2. That kind of collapse is brutal, and it exposed some really deep flaws in the roster. This isn't ancient history that fans have moved on from. This is the immediate, painful context that makes a Super Bowl prediction seem not just bold, but to some almost delusional. So the crucial point here is that this isn't just some recent slump. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Their last Super Bowl appearance was way back in 2010. Pat McAfee himself was the punter on that team that lost to the New Orleans Saints. Their last playoff appearance of any kind, that was in 2020, and it ended in a heartbreaking, down-to-the-wire wild-card loss to the Buffalo Bills. And since that game, nothing. Zilch. No playoff berths. Not even a winning season. This timeline just lays it all out there. This is a team that's been struggling to find its footing, to establish a new identity, and to recapture that glory that used to define the entire franchise. But okay, amidst all this drama, the history of failure, and the late-season collapses, let's not forget the actual purpose of the event, building a team for the future. Because after the magic trick and the bold claims, McAfee did eventually have to announce a name. These draft picks, these are the organization's real plan. These are the players that the Colts are actually counting on to help reverse the very trends we just talked about. This is the substance behind all the spectacle, the slow, methodical, piece-by-piece process of trying to get better. And here they are, the picks, the actual tangible assets. The player McAfee finally announced was C.J. Allen, a linebacker from the defensive powerhouse of Georgia. Now, you don't just draft a player from that program, you draft a mentality. These guys are tough, they're disciplined, and they're used to winning championships. He's exactly the kind of player you bring in to help stop a 7-game losing streak from ever happening again. Then, later in the 3rd round, they added A.J. Halsey, a hard-hitting safety from LSU. Again, another top-tier college program. So these aren't just project players. These are reinforcements brought in to shore up a defense that clearly needed a ton of help. It might not be as exciting as a magic trick, but these are the practical, strategic moves the organization is making to try and change their fortunes. And the team building didn't stop there. After those first 2 selections, the Colts still had 5 more picks to make on day 3 of the draft. This is the slow, unglamorous grind of rebuilding a roster. These late rounds are really where a team's culture is built. You're looking for diamonds in the rough, guys who can be starters, depth players, hungry guys who will make their mark on special teams. Each one of these picks is like a lottery ticket. You're just hoping that you can find a real contributor who can help you win one more game next season, and then maybe another one the season after that. It's a long process of small, incremental gains, not some magical leap to a Super Bowl. So what do we have? We have the wild, unforgettable performance from McAfee on one side, and we have the sobering reality of the team's record and their methodical draft strategy on the other. So what are we supposed to take away from this collision of worlds? Why does this one moment even matter? And how do we make sense of this performance in the broader context of the NFL? A league that is, let's face it, blending sport with pure entertainment more and more every single day. Here it is. You can see the 2 sides in perfect contrast. On one hand, you've got Pat McAfee, delivering pure, unfiltered entertainment. His job, as he saw it, was to inject energy, hope, and just raw optimism into a fan base that desperately needed something to cheer about. On the other hand, you have the stark reality. A sub-500 team stuck in a long playoff drought that is very clearly in a rebuilding phase. This moment was really a battle between how you want to feel as a fan, hopeful, excited, on top of the world, and what the cold, hard facts on the ground actually say. It also makes you wonder about pressure, right? Does a public proclamation like that actually motivate a team, or does it just add this unrealistic level of expectation on the players and the coaches? Ultimately, the McAfee moment forces us to ask this really fascinating question. As the NFL draft becomes a bigger and bigger media event, what is its main purpose? Is it supposed to be this serious, analytical affair for the hardcore fans who want to break down every pick and every strategy? Or is it a television show that thrives on personality, viral moments, and pure entertainment, even if it gets a little absurd sometimes? McAfee's performance could represent a shift in how the league markets itself, valuing entertainers who can create television that people remember. But is that what fans really want? Or is his brand of chaos just a beautiful, bizarre exception to the rule? I'd love to know what you think, so drop a comment below. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to NFL Nexus for more content just like this. And before we go, a quick way to support the channel is by checking out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids and adults. You can find the link for that right in the description. Thanks so much for watching.